Excellent. So I'll go ahead and do a small prayer and we will go right in. नमामि धन्वन्तरिं आदिदेवं सुरासुरैर्वन्दितपादपद्मम् लोके जरारुग्भयमृत्युनाशम् धातारमीशं विविधौषधीनाम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. All right. Welcome. Now, hi Dipanti, hi Toscano, and Durga, Serena. Welcome. All right, so today's topic is diabetes. We were going to talk about diabetes and with show of hands or show of hands on the Zoom session, how many of you or your loved ones suffer from diabetes? Anybody here? It can be you or your loved ones, right? Yeah, it's more like it has become like a global epidemic, and it is important that we take care of this well. Now, how many of you think that this is reversible? Or have you seen anybody getting it reversed? Practically, because theoretically, yes. Have you seen anybody? Zarina, have you seen anybody getting it reversed? To a certain extent. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Manju. Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And is there a technique that they've followed, or would you like to share anything about it?
So basically, mostly it was dietary changes
Mhm.
and a few Ayurvedic way of life. I would say
Mhm.
not only the medicines, not only the herbs, but
Mhm.
also the Ayurvedic way of life.
Very true. Very true. Thank you so much for sharing that, Zarina. Now, that's exactly very true. This is a non-communicable disease, and it is considered as a lifestyle disorder. And now, what does that mean? I was attending a conference this weekend, and they were sharing about how um, a lifestyle disorder comes in when you are not taking care of your body or you're not listening to your body. Your body talks to you in many ways. There's pain, there is increase in weight, there is reduction of energy, there is excessive urination, you'll have brain fog, you'll not be able to digest properly. So many things your body keeps talking to you. But if we do not pay attention to that, that is when you will be a prey to all of these diseases, right? And most of the time, and that's why I was talking to someone this morning, and they were like, "Oh, well, can you tell me something about?" This is my friend who called, and she was like, "Can you just give me something for my mom who has less iron? She's in India. You can just tell me something." I'm like, "Okay, fine. I mean, I can just tell you generically, but is she on any medication?" Yeah, normally the normal things like the diabetes, the cholesterol, and that's the normal things that she's on. So that is normal. It has become so normal, right? Everybody has normalized it. So that is something that we should question. Is it really normal? Is that how it has been that we have to overload our tissues? And that's why I wanted to, I mean, of course, 1 hour is not enough for us to explore everything, but I wanted all of us to understand what are the factors that are involved in formation of this condition typically. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. Now, there are three doshas that all of us have been talking about, and this is something that you've attended my classes in the past, and you have known what all those three doshas are. Out of these three doshas, the one dosha that is responsible for prameha is, what do you think? Which dosha is mainly responsible to begin with? Again, all three doshas can be involved all the time, but there is one dosha that is mainly responsible. Only Debanti has been attending all my classes, and Zarina, I know you're probably saying, like, what are you talking about? What is a dosha is probably what you're talking about. But um, you can go back to the recordings, and we spoke about all the different bioenergies that are present in the body, and these bioenergies are responsible for balance or imbalance of the body. Out of those three bioenergies, three of they're Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And now here, let me see, what did you answer? Why am I not able to? Okay. Okay. Kapha is what Debanti and Mamta says, and Bhamini is saying Vata. Okay. So yes, Vata can be responsible in a later stage, but to begin with, it is definitely Kapha. So what happens is when we talk about the causative factors, and in Ayurveda, the term diabetes is called as prameha. And I can write that down here. Which means means excessive, meha means urination. And this is definitely a symptom that is mentioned in in even modern way of understanding prameha, modern way of understanding your diabetes. This is definitely something that's mentioned, that excessive urination is present. Now, what happens? Let's understand what are the factors that are involved. Three factors: food, any drinkables, water, and lifestyle. These three factors, which increases are medadhatu, mutra is the urination, and kapha. So the dhatu, mala, and dosha. We spoke about all of this. Dhatu is a tissue. The tissue out of all the seven tissues, the tissue that would be increased is medadhatu. And the tissue that is the dosha that is increased is the kapha dosha. And the mala that is increased is the mutra. Now, mutra is the liquid form of the mala. What does this mean? This means that our entire body is flooded with this excessive mucus, excessive kapha, like that sticky, slimy fluid that is present. That is what you have to remember. Now, we also studied like increases like. Samanya Visesha Siddhanta is what Ayurveda talks about. Like increases like. Now, if it is someone which the food that you're eating, swadu, which is sweet foods, sweet in taste, amla, which is sour in taste, lavana, which is salty, sweet, sour, salty, and also anything that is very unctuous, heavy, sticky, and cold. These are all the things that you should remember whenever you're taking a food. Whenever you're eating a food, you take out a laddu from a refrigerator. It is cold, it is sweet, it is heavy, it is sticky. All of this is present in it. So you don't have to have like a list of what to eat, what not to eat. As long as you understand the properties of it, you can extrapolate these properties to whatever you're eating. Today, I've met someone and they said that the first year they moved to the United States, first, not even first year, I was shocked actually. This is the first time I probably ever have heard this, but within the first month, they've increased 7 kilos the first month. And then within the next 6 months, they've increased 20 pounds. And guess what? They were diagnosed with PCOS. So what's happening here is that there is excessive. I mean, you come to the country and you see all the cheesy foods, mayo, cold, sticky, you have all-purpose flour, which is sticky. You eat these kind of foods and you're creating that kind of an environment in the body. When you're creating that kind of an environment in the body, now seven tissues are formed, and all these seven tissues are formed from the food that you eat only, no? And depending upon the qualities of the food, that type of tissue is formed the most. If you eat more of the liquids, then the liquid tissues are going to be formed most. If you eat more of this sticky, heavy, cold kind of foods, then that kind of a tissue is formed, which is a Meda Dhatu. And even that Meda Dhatu is formed, that is not at its optimal quality. It is a heavy quality. Usually, anybody that has kapha is supposed to be a strongest person. They can be doing anything possible. But if it is shaithilya, if it is very loosened, then it becomes heavier for you. You cannot even carry that weight. That's what happens with all of these causative factors. Now, that is the type of foods that you eat. Yeah, are all recommended for vata. Very true. So the opposite, no? Because they can reduce vata. Very interesting observation that you have made, and that is exactly true. Swadvamla lavana, in that swadu amla lavana, these are the ones that increases kapha and reduces vata. So there are no taste. If you have a vata kapha kind of an imbalance, there is no taste that is similar that can handle both of them. The only thing that you can do is ushna, which is heating. Anything that is heating is something that is similar. You can only use a guna. You cannot use a rasa to take care of kapha and vata imbalance if they're both similar. That's why it becomes very difficult. Actually, that is why Kaphaja prameha, if the diabetes is only because of kapha, it is easier to handle because it's a one-way direction. You have to use something that's hot, you have to use something that's scraping, you have to use something that's drying, and you have to use something that is not very hot or something that's not very heavy. And you will be able to take care of it. Now imagine if it is Vataja prameha, where you have a blockage at a point because there is excessive sticky fluids and vata is just stuck there and all of this area is dried out. Now you have to give some things to take care of vata and you also have to give something to take care of kapha. That is when things go a little bit difficult. However, that is more for Ayurvedic doctors to handle. It's not something that, this class scope is for us to know how to identify when body is speaking to us and then incorporate those particular food and lifestyle. That is what the scope of this class is. So, what is the swadu amla lavana kind of foods? If you're using excessive and repeated use of newer grain, in the olden days, even I come from a farming background, we would never use the grain that would just come in this crop. This grain is kept and aged before we use it after several months because that is actually a processing where the grain becomes lighter. We used to have big huts, big huts that is actually built with hay, and they used to put heaps and heaps of rice and paddy in it, and that's when it gets aged. And then we would, once we know that it's aged, then we would use that for cooking purposes. So excessive and repeated use of newer grain. But now the grain that we get is not only a hybrid one where it is harvested quicker and sooner, because of course that is when the farmer is going to get good returns. So it is not possible for us to do this. So what I do practically is when I get it from the store, we write dates on those bags and we use the older ones and we store them in the house itself because we do not know when that's given into the store. Then meat of marshy and sea animals. This is a biggest debate. A lot of times people eat, especially for omega-3, eat a lot of fish. Now remember that fish is a sea animal that lives in salty water, cold and salty water. For it to retain that, it is going to have a lot of heat in it. But remember that it is eternally in that marshy environment. Like increases like, it's going to have that qualities. So it's going to have that sticky, marshy kind of qualities to it, and that is what will increase kapha as well. So if you have to eat fish, you have to eat a grilled version, not the version that you actually make with the tamarind soup, etc. So sea animals, and none of the sea animals, even shrimp, crab, these sea animals are supposed to have highest quantity of cholesterol as well, and they're not recommended to be eaten in general also. So you just eat it for fun. Now, this is another very, very interesting one, and a lot of you will raise your brows when I say this. Jaggery. Even jaggery is actually considered to be very marshy and very sticky. It is not recommended for someone who has diabetes. A lot of times people shun away white sugar and eat jaggery. And now you're like, well, what do I eat now? You're saying no, no white sugar, no jaggery. What do I eat right now? So if you can eat mishri, which is rock sugar, that's available in the Indian stores for us, that is good. But jaggery is also something that is not recommended, especially if it's a new jaggery. It's not recommended also because it is also very, monk fruit sugar is not recommended, Zarina. Coconut sugar to an extent is okay, or palm sugar to an extent is okay. And you can also eat the mishri, rock sugar. These are the ones that I would recommend for you. Okay. Then even stevia, they're all processed, no, Naren? So that is why they're not recommended. Now, kudhanya, which is millets, some kind of millets. The reason that these are not recommended, but some millets are beneficial later, and I'll tell you, I don't want to confuse you now. Let's not talk about millets yet. But urad dal, black gram, is something that will increase the sticky nature. That's something that you would want to stay away from. And any starchy food, anything that is like all-purpose flour, anything that has a lot of starch, that gives a lot of starch, that is not something that you would want to use. Sugarcane-based products like molasses, things like that are going to be some things that you want to stay away from. Leafy vegetables, especially if it is not cooked very well. Leafy vegetables are supposed to be cooked very well, and if it's not cooked very well, that's not something that you would want to use. Wheat flour is okay as long as you are getting it freshly milled and it is an ancient flour. There is khapli and kamat kind of flours that are available. If you're using that ancient flour, then wheat flour is okay. But otherwise, you would not want to use any other variety of wheat flour. Yeah. So those are the foods that you would want to avoid. Khorasan is okay. Yes. Was Mishri? What properties makes it better? Okay. So Mishri is something that comes directly from it is not processed as much. In jaggery, the way it is processed increases the sticky nature. Now, when you see the Mishri and jaggery, for making certain sweets, we make a jaggery liquid and we check the sticky nature of it. Usually, the sticky nature with jaggery is much more than the sticky nature with the sugar. That is why Mishri is going to be recommended, and the white sugar that we get right now is processed, and that's why that's not recommended. But Mishri is something that is not as sticky as jaggery, and that's what makes it much more palatable. That's what makes it much more better. than jaggery. Yeah. And drinkables, these drinkables are some things that you would want to stay away from. Of course, alcohol, especially if it is more of a dessert wine, something that is very sweet in nature. You would want to stay away from it. White wines, dessert wines, these are the ones that you want to stay away from. And even some kind of beers, those you want to stay away from. Sugarcane juice is something that you want to stay away from. Milk, even milk. Again, he's not saying don't use it at all. If you're using excessive of these, is what he's saying. That is what you have to remember. And immature alcohol that is not formed very well is something that he's saying. Also, yogurt that is not being formed very well, yogurt that is not settled very well, set very well, that is not something that you would want to use. That is something that you want to stay away from. That is the pana or the drinkables that you want to stay away from. Now, who wants to tell me what is the lifestyle that you want to get away from? I'm sure all of us know, but I'm going to add to whatever you say. That way, we're all participating in it. I just want to see what daily routine is not recommended. Desk job, true. Sedentary, that is true. So, I know of my uncle. We were just talking about this uncle of mine. I remember him from my childhood. He would not get up from wherever he was sitting. He would play this card game on the computer. There's this one card game that he would play continuously. I mean, I would get just bored watching, looking at it. And then his wife has to make exotic food and bring it to him. All he does is just play and he would not work at all. And he was happy doing that. Of course, he has diabetes. There's no, I mean, that's something sitting in one place and not moving. They cannot even move. They're like, oh my God, just moving this is a big deal. So that level of sedentary nature. Liking. So sitting at one place, desk job is one thing, but some people cannot even move. Even the desk job, they're like, okay, well, I just want to do this. I don't even want to move from my chair. That is what he's talking about. Excessive and repeated use of liking of sitting at one place. And sleeping without adopting proper rules. What does that mean? Some people are used to sleeping in the middle of the day. My son was telling me yesterday, I was dropping him off at college and I was like, okay, what time are you going to bed? He's like, oh, I'll probably go to bed at 2 in the morning. I'm like, what? You have class at 8? He's like, that's fine. I'll come back and sleep if I'm sleepy again. Right? So that kind of sleeping without adopting proper rules. You're just sleeping in the middle of the day after you eat your food. That is also going to be affecting, right? And not adopting hygiene, not following proper washing your body, showering. If you're not following all of that, that also is going to lead to diabetes. These are all the causative factors. Yeah. Now, what happens? What really happens? Like the pathophysiology of from what to what. How is the prameha samprapti? Prameha samprapti is the pathophysiology. Now imagine someone who's eating ice cream in the night and has a sedentary lifestyle, likes to eat fried foods. Their kapha is vitiated excessively. It flows all over your body. Now imagine a wood, like a solid wood, but this solid wood is soaking in water forever. What happens to the wood? If this solid wood, like teak or any wood that is very strong, but it is soaking in water for about 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, what happens to the wood? Can anybody tell me? It swells up and it actually is able to become what we call shaithilya. Shaithilya means it starts to disintegrate. It becomes very soft. It starts becoming soft. And that is when we call kha vaigunya, which means it becomes vulnerable and it can easily be perished. That is what you remember happens in our body. Our organs have structures around them protecting our organs. But if these structures are continuously being soaked in mucus and in all of this excessive water that is not necessary, then these organs are, are now becoming vulnerable. Excessive liquidity is being formed, which is similar to kapha. Then your kapha, this when these organs are vulnerable, then they allow this kapha to seep in through these organelles. And this kapha is now mixed with the meda inside the tissues. So now this meda, which is a stronger one, which is meda is a fat tissue, this fat tissue, which is supposed to be strong, is now mixed with this vitiated kapha. Now all of this meda is now going to be vitiated. This is all getting mixed. Now, this mixed maida, fat tissue, is going to be affecting your water element in the body, and that has to go out of the body, right? When it has to go out of the body, it is going out of the body as excessive fluid, excessive mutra, excessive urination. And when maida is affected, the fat tissue is affected, the adjacent tissue to fat tissue is muscle tissue. Now, muscle is also getting affected. That becomes flaccid and that becomes vulnerable too. So, both mamsa, which is your muscle, and your fat tissue are affected. They become vulnerable and soft. And if there is any heat that is present, that is when you see boils and ulcers. You see a lot of ulcers that are formed with decubitus ulcers or any of these ulcers that are easily seen with diabetes, right? Diabetic ulcers is what we call them. And anytime you must have known this, that you'll say that if you have diabetes, you have to be careful with your footwear. You have to be careful that you're protecting your foot so that you're not getting any wounds on your foot. More because imagine your body is entirely with this excessive fluid, unnecessary excessive fluid. And that unnecessary excessive fluid is what gets collected when there is a wound. And that wound will never get healed. That abnormal kleda, abnormal liquid in the body goes out as urine. Yeah? So that is the pathophysiology. All the normal qualities of kapha is now becoming like a vitiated ones. So the stable, strong kapha is becoming very, very weak. That is what happens in prameha. That is what happens in diabetes. Now, this is an extreme condition that I told you, where people are being careless and they're not following what they're supposed to. They're eating whatever foods they get, they put their hands on, whatever drinkables, whatever lifestyle that they have followed. You must have, however, also seen that there are some people that follow everything to the T from the beginning itself, yet experience diabetes. What happens in this kind of people where they follow everything, yet they experience this kind of diabetes? Now, one thing that we can say is their body is vulnerable. They have carried the genetics from their previous generations and their body is vulnerable. And what is happening mentally? How is their mental status affecting their gut and not allowing the gut to break down the food? That is something that is to be addressed. And if they have a lot of what we call chinta, shoka, bhaya, which is fear, worry, and grief, then ojas is depleted. And if ojas is depleted, then you will not be able to break down the food that you're supposed to break down. You will become more depressed. And that is a vicious cycle that is formed for diabetes to be formed as well. When you know that you have a genetics involved, and then you have to take care of yourself in a way that you can prevent it or delay it. Those are the things that you have to take care of. Now, there are 20 types of diabetes actually. One kind is where udaka meha. Udaka meha means that there is turbid and slimy urine that forms, or ikshu meha, which is very, very sweet urination, or sandra, urine becomes very, very thick when kept overnight, or surameha, urine is resembling like alcohol. You put the urine for some time and there's a clear top, and the bottom is going to be thick. Or pishtameha, the thickness is like corn flour thickness, that much thick, that thick urine is formed. So depending upon what type of diabetes it is, we know the qualities of kapha that are affected. Then we know what are the qualities of dravyas that we should give, what are the qualities of food that we should give, what are the qualities of lifestyle we should give. All of that is going to be addressed. Yeah. So there is 10 types of kaphaja prameha, 6 types of vataja prameha, 6 types of pittaja prameha, and 4 types of vataja prameha. That's what the samprapti, which is the pathophysiology of diabetes is. Any questions before we go into treatment and the type of foods that we have to follow if there is diabetes when you are diagnosed with it? Yes, Debanti.
I just wanted to go back to the fish again. So, like, fish is not recommended even though it is heating, right?
Yes,
And
even though
so,
it's heating, the reason being that it is going to be melting any of the fat that is strong, and it becomes even more shitila. It becomes even more softer. Yeah.
but if you're used to it ancestrally and if you cook it with a lot of heating spices, does that make a difference?
Yeah, you can eat it for fun. It's okay. And you can also eat it where you're grilling it and you're not making it into like a curry. Then that is okay. You can eat that. And you're used to it ancestrally also. Then that's okay to consume it. But again, you don't want to consume it every single day. Yes, Deepak.
Yeah, hi. I'm not diabetic till now, but my HbA1c is like 5.9. So I think I'm a pre-diabetic.
Mhm.
So how I know like which kind of diabetes is happening for me? Is it a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, or which kind of that individual? Like, so
Mhm. So you would want to look at the causative factors. It's
Mhm.
very important for us to look at causative factors. Now, it's very important. All diabetes, we are not going to equate it to prameha. Very important. When someone comes to me for diabetes, I might actually take care of their gut, and that will take care of their diabetes. I might take care of their liver, and that might take care of their diabetes.
So
It is not
how
necessary that you have 5.9 HbA1c and it is actually falling in one of these 20. Not necessary.
So how I understand like what is causing these things, because it was not like that. My HbA1c is always like 5.3, 5.4,
Mhm.
but recent in like last 3 months back when I checked is 5.9 suddenly.
So it's very important for you to check these. What is your sweat like right now? What is your body odor like? And what is your nail? How fast are your nails growing? And any flaccidity, are you noticing that flabbiness and anything in the muscles around the abdomen, around the thighs, around the forearms? Is that something that you're noticing? Or are you noticing that there is, again, these are all things that I have to let you know. any desire of, I want to sleep, there's a brain fog, or if there is a feeling of coating on your eyes, on your tongue, on your hridaya also, on your heart area, is there any feeling of coating? Or if there heaviness in the body, or desire for cold, I like to stay cold, or dryness of the throat, or sweet taste of the mouth, or any burning sensation in the palms or the soles, or if this is not something that you want to do, but this is a test that acharyas have recommended, that you put urine, you take a urine sample and put it. If ants come closer to this urine, then you know that there is more meha, more kapha in this urine. Now, if HbA1c is 5.9 and you don't have any of these symptoms and you did not have any kapha provoking factors, then that tells me that your pancreas is not working the way it is supposed to. Maybe there is insulin resistance, where the beta cells were not releasing the type of insulin that it's supposed to. So it is necessary that you have to check what's happening with your pancreas, and necessary to adjust your gut. Once you do that, then this will probably get better. Again, within 2 minutes, I'll not be able to say what happened. But these are all the things that you would have to play detective work yourself.
Got it.
Yeah. Let me see any other questions. Is there correlation with age? Mamta, it is usually what happens is, as the body ages, the organs and tissues also go through a lot of stress throughout. Then, of course, they become much more vulnerable than if you were in your teens or 20s, because of the amount of pressure that they have been through. Zarina, what about gut microbiome? I did not understand your question. Yes, gut microbiome is going to affect that, just like what I was talking to Deepak about, that it is important that you protect your gut health, if that's what your question is. That can be a cause
Uh,
of factors for why your A1C would be high.
Manju, my question about gut microbiome was, there's a specific study on the gut microbiome, which Dr. William Davis, I've been following him.
Mhm.
And so he mentioned something about L. reuteri, which will like take care of a lot of inflammation that's going on in the body. Are you aware of anything like that?
So that is not something that is mentioned in Ayurveda, Zarina. It is a different way of looking at things, and which I absolutely respect. However,
Mm-hmm.
the way that we restore gut microbiome in Ayurveda is allowing the body to restore to its natural state, allowing the gut fire, the digestive fire, to restore to its natural stage, so that it can restore whatever microbiome is necessary in that place, instead of uh, giving it as a supplement. Because if you're giving it as a supplement, you're still being dependent on something, and you're still dependent on your liver to process it. Instead, we do the opposite, where we allow for the gut fire to come back to normal, so that the gut microbiome readjusts itself instead of us introducing it, if that makes sense for you.
Yeah, so that what he suggested was not taking it like as in a pill form,
Hmm.
but more like making a yogurt out of it, out of the L reuteri. So having the L reuteri and having it multiply, and making it like a yogurt, and then eating it every day, and that would like propagate more of L reuteri in your gut, and
Hmm.
that takes care of a lot of inflammation in the body, is what he is saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Hmm.
am just about to try it. I haven't tried it. I just ordered the yogurt making thing, and so I'm very interested in the gut microbiome science.
I'd be interested in that. However, I also know that when you consume yogurt, it increases kapha in the body. While
Uh-huh.
if you're introducing gut microbiome in the form of yogurt, I know yogurt in itself is cold and sticky and slimy in nature, and that increases kapha in the body. So that is the
Ah,
only thing
okay.
that I would be wary.
Cautious of. Hmm.
But otherwise, I'd be interested in knowing what it is going to do for you.
Sure. I'll let you know in the next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm seeing most of the symptoms you mentioned at the start of the low energy, gut issues, brain fog, headaches, dry eyes, heaviness, excessive urination, muscle loss. My A1C is 7.1. What should I do? You should see an Ayurvedic doctor. No, just kidding. So start with look at what is the diet that you're following out of. It's important that you remove. I told you causative, I told you the symptoms, but I also told you the causative factors. I also told you, are you eating cold, slimy, heavy foods, processed foods? Then you must cut out of those. Then you must remove breakfast and just eat a very, very tiny porridge for breakfast and eat a bigger lunch and have just soups for dinner. You just do that. That itself makes a lot of difference. And on top of it, you can also introduce like dry ginger powder water. Consume that dry ginger powder water. Do not consume water by itself. Always consume water as a medicated water. Then you would automatically notice that the energy starts feeling better. I actually had this, we were doing a panchakarma for a client, and when we were giving her ghee for the past 2 days, her dosha bala, which is the toxins bala, is much more than her dhatu bala, than her tissues. So for the past 2 days, there was excessive puking that it was, we were like, wow, is this going to go to dehydration? We would give just one sip and it would be like about half a cup of thick bile that would come out, right? The reason I'm saying this is we store a lot inside our body, and this is a very teeny tiny person that we were doing this for. We store a lot inside our body. And even though I knew the intensity of how much would come out even before we did it, and we waited actually for 4 months to make sure that this person comes to a stable energy before we even conduct Panchakarma. Even then, this person was not able to, this person's tissues were not able to handle. Now, this person was Bhishakvashya. Bhishakvashya means following everything I said to the T. When that happens, it gives us freedom to do whatever we can in our capacity. Now, after 2 days of excessive vomiting, this person is extremely high energy. She's like, wow, I have so much clarity. I have so much hunger. I want to eat this. I want to eat that now. So, that much of load of toxins they've been carrying for years. So, you see that this low energy and gut issues happen because of the excessive load that we've been carrying for years also. Now, that is where intermittent fasting comes in place. Now, intermittent fasting does not mean that you have a proper window, like a 6 hour window where you eat whatever you want to, and the other time you are fully fasting and you're just, suppressing. No. You can just do intermittent fasting in such a way where you're eating very small breakfast, eating good amount of lunch, and then soups for dinner. When you see that, you would automatically notice that the low energy will get better, your gut issues will get better, your brain fog will get better. I'm not saying that you're going to reverse it immediately, but you will notice there will be a difference. And one very important thing is exercise. It is told that anybody that has diabetes has to do exercise in such a way that you are digging a well. You're supposed to dig a well. You're supposed to be working in a cow farm. That much amount of work you're supposed to do if there is diabetes, right? So when you do that, you're toning your muscles, you're allowing for your digestive fire to increase, you're allowing your gut microbiome to come back to whatever it is supposed to be. And that itself will take care of all of these symptoms. You don't have to chase low energy separately. You don't have to chase gut issues separately. All of them are connected. We are taking care of a whole person. We are not taking care of any individual conditions. Yeah. Eggs are okay for breakfast, that's okay. But then make sure that you're eating only whites. You're eating scrambled version or scrambled version with spices, or you're eating a boiled egg, hard-boiled egg, but just a white. So only soups for dinner makes you hungry at night. Make sure that you're eating some thick soups, like the butternut squash or sweet potato kale. You can add a very tiny bit of quinoa or add a very tiny bit of barley so that there's some substance to it and you can eat that. Or if that is still not enough, you can eat like a jowar roti. You can eat that And that is going to be beneficial along with a soup. Oats are okay, but they are not very much scraping. They're sticky. When you cook oats, they become a little bit sticky. So it's not like they give you a lot of energy. Of course, I eat oats every single morning as breakfast. However, I'm not going to say that that's the best thing available for diabetes. The best thing is barley. Barley is very, very good. That fills you up, and that also allows you to scrape that excessive mamsa and meda dhatu, muscle and fat tissue, and allows for the tonification of the mamsa and meda dhatu. That's what it's used for. Yeah. So having said that, I'm going to quickly, the last 10 minutes, we're going to talk about what are all the foods that you must incorporate if there is diabetes. It's important now that you know what not to do. You also have to know what to do. You definitely, we spoke about what are the characteristics of the dietary habits that you must incorporate. That is something that you know already. The best herbs that can be used are turmeric and amla. These are very, very good. Nisha amalaki is what we call. So that is something that's very, very good. And of course, now I think after rainy season in India, you get jambu. Jambu is very, very good. The purple fruit that you get, that's very, very good for diabetes. And there are many formulations that are present. Then we definitely would want to include good amount of workout, not hot yogas. And of course, hot yogas are some things that are okay, but more than hot yogas, you want to incorporate good type of, I always consider cardio and followed by weight training. Both of them together is, alternating both of them is going to be very beneficial for you. Yeah. Then the type of foods that you must incorporate. I spoke about barley, and you also want to make sure that you are not incorporating very sweet fruits, like watermelon or banana, mango, chiku, or even what is it called? Ice apple, not ice apple. I know we don't get that here, but anything that is grapes are okay. Grapes
Custard.
are okay. Custard apple, thank you. Yes. Custard apple is not something that you would recommend as well. Yeah, anything that is super sweet is not something that's recommended, but you can incorporate jambu. Jambu is very good. Apples are okay, and pears are okay. Peaches are okay, and you can also include papaya. Papaya is very good, especially if shouldn't be very, very sweet. It should be a little bit where it is not very ripe and not unripe. That type of papaya is going to be beneficial. And you also want to incorporate the wood apple. Wood apple is beneficial as well. And wheat, we spoke about Khorasan and any of those ancient wheat varieties. Green gram is good. If you do not have excessive pitta, if you don't have excessive heat in your body, then horse gram is very good for you. And kulit, that's what it's called. Snake gourd, bitter gourd is extremely beneficial for you. Blueberries are good. And you want to incorporate any vegetable that are bitter in taste. Those are all the things. And you want to include meat of animals living in dry lands. That is something that would be good. Methi seeds, you can soak that and you can eat that methi seeds in the morning because it is more bitter in nature. That's going to be beneficial. Yeah. Any questions you have with regards to diet? What diet you would? White pumpkin is going to be good. You can incorporate that. It's not super sweet, so it's okay for you to be incorporating that. Even Karela and celery is going to be good. These are all going to be good. So ideally, the day is going to be where you wake up in the morning on empty stomach if you're able to work out, because that is when you will have maximum, it is kapha kala. You are not allowing for kapha to accumulate. And when you exercise in the morning, your kapha is being toned. And that is what you want to do. And then you can have a very, very small breakfast. And you can sip herbal tea or herb infused water throughout the day. And you're eating bigger meal, which has a grain in it. It can be ancient wheat, or it can be jowar roti, or it can be aged rice that is cooked with starch removed, along with cooked vegetables and lentils, and a small amount of buttermilk. And snack can be like a roasted makhana, and dinner can be soups with barley or millets or quinoa or any of that if necessary, or just plain soups like a barley lentil soup, barley mixed vegetable soup, that kind of soups. And you sleep on time at night. If you do this, I guarantee that you are towards the reversal of your diabetes. Then what happens is your epigenetics is kicked in. Your genetics say that you will get, you're vulnerable to diabetes. But when you follow this diet and lifestyle, you're actually changing the structure of your own cell. And when you change the structure of your own cell, the organ is changed, the tissues are changed, organ systems are changed, and the entire body is changed, and you will be able to see the difference yourself. Yeah. There's a question here. Amla in Indian store is not very good and frozen. Any alternatives? Actually, Mridul, here in Coconut Hill, we are able to find fresh amla. They get fresh amla. I find it many times. It's expensive, but you get it. If not, frozen is the only option. You have to cook it and you have to use that. Methi seeds are good. You can soak them and eat it in the morning. White pumpkin is good. Garlic is very good, actually. Ginger and garlic is something that you can use. Dibanti.
So I wanted to ask about folks that have genetic predisposition to diabetes, right? Like it almost sounds like it's the quality of the kapha that determines, like in the body, that determines whether one gets diabetes or not. So is it that they're genetically, we just have not great kapha? And then for those individuals, like, do you need to have support throughout, or is this also something that can be reversed if it is more genetic and not related to lifestyle?
Very good question. And that's where I was talking about how epigenetics play a role. So if your enemy is stronger, then you have to train your soldiers even stronger. Your soldiers are your diet, your lifestyle, herbs, and therapies. These are all your soldiers. Then you have to be very strict with your diet and very strict with your lifestyle if you want to reverse it. So you have to, ideally, what you would want to do is you would want to eat like a fiber, like good amount of fiber as well, so that the conversion of your food into sugar will not be that quick. This fiber will reduce the conversion of your sugar. So the way that I let my clients know how to introduce fiber is boil like a broccoli, and that is something that you eat in the beginning of your meal. You can always add a little bit of ghee on top of it, or you can spice it up, and that's something that you're going to be eating so that there's fiber. And then there's slow gastric emptying, and you're able to break it down properly. So that's one trick that you can do. And these are some things that you have to follow religiously. It all depends upon how religiously you're following things. When you are following all of these things religiously, Dibanti, it is possible that you're changing the vulnerability of your tissues. And when that vulnerability of your tissues and the cells are changed, then that is what epigenetics is. That is where you are changing whatever genetics is given to you. It's like living in California. California is an earthquake-prone zone. Then we have to be prepared with whatever we have to be prepared with. And that's why we have earthquake drills and such. And that's why whenever anybody has a genetic predisposition, absolutely, they have to work even harder to get rid of it, but it is possible to reverse. Yeah. Chia seeds are actually if you see the quality of them, they're cooling and they swell up. They can absorb water very, very much. So that is not something that would help you with scraping off any excessive water in your body. It actually adds water to your body. So I'm not a big fan of that for diabetic patients. But methi is good. You can add methi because it's bitter. That's why it's going to be beneficial. Yeah. So that is the kind of like a bird eye view of what diabetes is and how we have to follow. Okra is slimy. You can fry it and you can still use it. But remember that it is slimy. So it's not super, super beneficial, but of course you can have it. You can eat it once in a while.
So, Manju, is that why weight loss then helps, right? Because then there's less of the internal meda to draw in the kapha that is flowing, essentially.
And weight loss in a proper way. You don't want to do weight loss by restricting your calories, because when you're restricting your calories, then the weight loss is happening in such a way that your organs are also taxed. When your organs are taxed, already your organs are shithila, they are not strong enough and they are not getting enough nutrition, then you cannot sustain it. But you want to do weight loss in a proper methodical way where you are losing inches and not a lot of, I mean, even though you don't lose weight, if you lose inches, that's good enough. So that is definitely going to be beneficial for kaphaja prameha. But if it's vataja prameha, it will be opposite. You will have to give them ghee. You will have to give them medicated ghee like dhanvantara, ghritam, etc. That way, you're giving herbs that are bitter, but you're also giving ghee so that you're able to pacify the vata. Yeah. Good. So if we don't have any questions, then we can see you all next month with a new topic. I hope this was beneficial, where you're going to tell all your friends about, educate your friends now that knowledge is something that you want to make sure that you're giving it to anybody and everybody that would benefit from it. Of course, you wouldn't want to just go around and preach anybody, no, but make sure that you share this with someone that would benefit them. Okay. Very well. Have an amazing Monday and the rest of your week. I will see you next month. Thank you all for joining. Bye.
Thank you.